Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. This week, we have Joelle Tegwen. Hey, Joelle, welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. So Tuesday is Team Tuesday here on the podcast. But before we dive into the team story, share with us, Joelle, what's the book that most inspired you in your career as a Scrum Master?
The book that I really like is not a book about Agile at all. It's called How Minds Change by David McRaney. And he runs a podcast about cognitive biases, and his earlier books were all about that. But then around the time of the pandemic, he wrote this book, How Minds Change. And what is important about this for me, kind of relative to what we talked about yesterday, is that we don't change other people's minds. We don't, you're no amount of arguing or facts or anything like that is going to change somebody's mind. What we need to do is make space for other people to reflect and change their own mind. And I think that's such an important thing that has really changed for me in my career, is moving much more towards allowing space for people to reflect and to present maybe questions that would help, but also knowing that and believing that they have good answers. They know their system better than I could ever possibly know. And so it's not up to me to push them to do a certain thing. It's up to me to help them understand the best thing that they can do for themselves.
That's a great reminder, exactly as you said, based on the podcast episode from yesterday. We need to understand that the part of our work as change agent is really to create that space, to allow that space for others to reflect. So what are some interesting tips or concepts that David McRaney shared in the book that you still remember and you want to highlight from the book?
So one of the things he talks about is this process called deep canvassing. And they started doing this in California during there was a vote called Prop 8 that was about allowing for gay marriage. And they thought it would, the people who were pro-gay marriage thought that it would succeed. And it failed, and they couldn't understand how they could have been so wrong. And so over the course of time, they sent out people to go door knocking just to try to understand why people voted the way they did. And through this, they did a lot of analyzing of what was said and the discussions that were had and how people responded, whether people thought they might have changed their mind, and they came up with this concept called deep canvassing. And not all of those pieces apply to Scrum Mastering. They do things like asking people where they are on a scale of 1 to 10. But the one thing they do that really applies is they ask the person to tell their story. about why they feel this way, or ask them if they knew someone who was gay. And often they did. They had some kind of interaction, some sort of personal thing, story that they told about it. And then the canvasser would also share a story. And then they would ask them at the end, like if their number had changed and why that was the right number. And then they would leave. And then they would leave. And they found this process to be incredibly effective. But the piece of it that I bring into coaching is, tell me your story. Tell me what's happening for you. And then I can tell you a story that humanizes myself and relates to where you are so that you can understand a perspective that I might be trying to share.
Stories are how we relate to each other and to ourselves even, right? Like there's a lot of storytelling that goes on in therapy, for example. And I really like that approach. So the book is How Minds Change by David McRaney, and the link is in the show notes for everybody to go and check it out. Now we turn our attention to teams and how sometimes they become their own worst enemies. So Joelle, when you think about that one team, that transformation for the worse, tell us a little bit about the context of that team, but then how those behaviors or patterns kind of started small but developed and over time became a problem for the team.
So as a consultant, I often kind of get brought in once things are already not in a good place. And there was a time I was coaching teams under several leaders, but a lot of them had the same problem where the developers would take an entire sprint to do a story, and then the next sprint, the QA would take an entire sprint to do the story, and then it would inevitably have to come back, and so it would take them months to get anything out into production. And they're on the business side, they were so frustrated about how long it would take them to get to the stories. And one of the problems that we had here was that some of the leaders didn't see on the IT side, didn't see that this was a problem, because in their mind it worked. They delivered work. It was fine. The work was of quality that was all right. Why should they change what they were doing? And sometimes the QA folks were happy with this too. They would, this piece about, from the start, you don't change other people's minds. If they don't see what they're doing as a problem, if they can't see the impacts of it, then they're not going to change. And so that was what I was really up against there was I had a leader who told me in a one-on-one, he said, "This is not a problem for me. I don't understand, I have no desire to change what I'm doing here at all because it works for me."
That is a difficult thing to kind of come back from, right? Like you're talking to a leader in an organization, you're describing a problem as is seen by others, and this leader is in all comfort, probably, and confidence or trust in their own perspective, I should say, that, but this is not a problem. Like, how do you come back from that, Joelle?
Well, the place I ended up coming back to was that the QA team was actually, they were struggling with it. They were feeling really frustrated because they always had to test and retest because things would come back. And so what I ended up doing was supporting them and helping them articulate the value of them being able to complete the work easily in one sprint. And it turned out that one of the problems that they had was that they didn't know how to split stories differently. And they had a lot of manual QA. And so by helping them, talk about how they were going to improve their automation, doing a training on how to split stories. Then they were able to see, and also helping the QA people tell their story about the pain that they were experiencing. Then that helped convince the developers and the leaders that, oh, it would make sense to at least try this out. Let's try it and see how it works. And so they were able to do that, and it ended up sticking for them.
Yeah, that's
because
actually
they did like that in the end.
That's actually a great example, like finding the people that actually want the change within the team and then just helping them to voice their experience, right? To translate into concrete words the pain that they are suffering. Because I imagine it was a pain for those QAs, especially if they were doing mostly manual QA.
Yes. And it was the manual QA that was, causing part of the problem, right? Because when you have that, that if you have small stories and you need to test the same things over and over again, then it starts making sense to do those big cycles. But if you can move into automation and automating some of the work, then you can do smaller stories, because you don't have to do all that manual work every time. You just have a script running it, and so then you can do those smaller iterative movements.
Yeah, and that's a very important, I guess we could call it, trigger for then the change to happen, right? Like one of the tips that I usually give the Scrum Masters or teams that I coach is that you have to focus on the people who already want to work differently and work with them to find how that could be possible, right? And then after that, things will spread, because if things really work, they spread. When we are talking about things in the theoretical level, you're going to get resistance. It's normal and it's expected. But some people will actually say, hey, that's a great idea. Work with them, right? Like help them grow how that would become a reality in their context, because when that becomes a reality, the benefits will be clear and others will come along.
Yeah, I've moved to this place where I focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. Don't keep trying to push the rock up the hill. Just focus on the place where there's a little flat spot, and whatever size rock you can get to flow, you can get to roll there, because nothing boosts your cause more than success.
Absolutely.
And so get to that place, get to that little success even.
Yeah, nothing boosts your cause more than success. I think that was very beautifully said, Joelle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasco.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into no estimates, we got the pioneers of no estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show.
And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.